So, welcome to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio, and today is Tuesday, June the 10th, 2025. And we're glad that you're with us. And Michael is on. We have Dawn and we have Daniel. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. Delighted to see you. We'll give folks another minute or two to come on in. Anybody got anything to share? Good to see you guys back, Daniel and JJ. I hope things are going well in your new home, that you're getting moved in. And thank you again for playing those shows while we were in the intensive. We had an awesome group of people. And
yeah, no problem. Glad to help out.
Yeah, that was fabulous. Thank you. Anything new and exciting in your world?
No, just getting used to living out west again.
Yeah, I was shocked when you guys, you're in Florida one week and the next week you're gone. I was like,
Yeah,
well, that was fast.
Life is just one adventure after another, you know?
ISIS asked us to.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That makes just so much sense. I've been trying to figure out a way that I can lasso St. Louis and Kansas City a little closer to Bristol, because we're locked in here with the kids, and they've got family that her in-laws, Ryan's wife's in-laws, and so pulling away from here doesn't work, and pulling them away from there, and I just haven't figured a way to change the landmass. So, but anyway,
that's the problem. Yeah, we did speak with both Michael J. and Krista just a few weeks ago, so that was great.
Oh, cool, nice. Yeah, they're both doing well. Babies, just too far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any babies on the horizon for you guys?
No, I don't think that's happening for us this time around.
No. No, at all?
No, probably not at all.
Oh, okay. Well, you never know.
We have grand dogs, that's the way that goes.
Grand dogs, okay. Yeah. Sweet, awesome. And how about you, doing anything exciting in your world?
I'm sorry, who? Us?
I was asking Dawn, one of the other people that's on the show, just if there's anything new and exciting happening in his world. And he may not be near the phone at this moment, since his mute button has remained muted. But I was having and I was expecting another fellow on who had called me this morning. Let me just quickly go over to the text and ask him if he's joining us, because he had a question for us. Joining us.
While he's doing that, I will say we did get approved by Apple. So the app has been updated on iPhones. So you can, I don't know if it'll just automatically give you the update or if you'll have to uninstall and reinstall. The way that you'll see the change, the main one that you'll actually see, is that on the home screen, where it says the radio show, it will no longer give a phone number for you to call into. We had the phone number removed since that's no longer in existence. And then the platform, the iOS platform, had to be changed. I think it had upgraded like 3 times since we had changed the app. And then they required that we make a change to our privacy policy. And so I took care of that this morning. And so it all got submitted. So the iPhone has been approved and it's changed. So if you have an iPhone, go ahead and get that update on the app. Google had it in review, and then they didn't like that on the privacy page, which it redirects you to the website where the privacy page is. And it had a section at the bottom, which was global across the website, where people can submit comments or questions on each page, and they didn't like that. So I had to change that page and take that off. And so it's back in review again. So hopefully by the end of the day, Google will be satisfied and it'll be back up for Androids. So just if you haven't gotten an update notice, then you might go out and check and see if you've gotten the latest. Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked and there's no update on the Play Store, the Google Play Store.
Yeah, well, Google hasn't approved it yet, so it won't show an update on that one yet. The iPhone would.
Technology. So welcome, everybody. And wide open forum today. Who's got a thought? Who's got something to chew on? I had gotten a text from someone this morning who had a thought and question about Course in Miracles. There he is. There's Joe, or at least he's joining. He's coming in. And there's Susan. Welcome. So I was just saying, Joe, that I had a question from you this morning, and I was thinking we might just do a little bit of conversation there. If you'd like to continue that inquiry that you had this morning. Hello, Joseph. Hit your mute button. Well, I'll ask Joe's question then. Joe was looking at the Course in Miracles this morning.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. You hear me?
Oh, I hear you.
Hey, fabulous, fabulous. I'm
Yeah.
in.
Cool. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's cool that you've got that Course in Miracles study group way down there in South Carolina, out in the boonies. And
yeah, Pendleton, South Carolina. Imagine that.
Is that where the military base is?
That's
not
I don't
not
know.
Camp Pendleton, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, it might be. It's I don't know why I thought Pendleton was somewhere out west, but
I don't know.
I don't think it's there now. But
In any event, you had a thought about the course, and it actually is a good opening with what we've been talking about. So I thought I'd invite you to go ahead and.
Okay. I'm ready. Here we go. So, what jumps or what stirs inside me is in today's lesson, 161, June 10th. Is that where we are? Yeah. So I'll read it. Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. I would behold you with the eyes of Christ and see my perfect sinlessness in you. And it stirs within me the idea of sinlessness seems to me to be an answer to Catholicism, Hebrew faith, this idea of shameful behavior, maybe for me anyway. So my question to you was that it just seemed to be, it jumped off the page at me, and it would be more the correct as you had said, the regulatory speech would be something like, and I see the perfect wholeness, or I see the perfect love in you, instead of sinlessness. It just
I think that's the idea of regulatory speech is a relatively new construct that I don't know was ever conceived of in the Aramaic, although the power of words is acknowledged where it says, the power of life and death is in your words. And then you hear Yeshua saying this thing, my words are your perfect life. And, it sounds like some sort of an ego trip or something. And then, of course, that the Greek focus that has come so much into churchianity of on sin, where sin simply means off the mark, as you know, an archery term.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there has been a great deal of focus on that in the world, as opposed to the words that are so important. When Yeshua says, my words are your perfect life, he's not, my take, and this is what you sort of opened for me when you asked me that question this morning, is that he's not speaking as an ego, like I have the perfect words, but he's recognizing the way the human mind operates. If I don't have a clue where to put the key in the car, if I don't have a clue how to shift gears, if I don't know where the gas pedal is, where the brake pedal is, where the emergency brake is, how to put gas in it. I'm not going very far in my car. It's not going to work very well. And the human mind has become a pariah in the world because of the pathology that I think to a great degree comes from simply not knowing. And, we talked last week about the inhibitory chemistry in the brain, that in excess of 90% of brain chemistry is tied up in inhibiting brain cell firings, and that there has to be some sort of a positive force or an anti-inhibitory force to allow those brain cells to fire. You tie that together with awareness or having the brain cells from the Aramaic, that the whole of the Beatitudes in Aramaic, each of the Beatitudes starts out with a word from the Aramaic, and there are 3 concepts contained within that word. The Greeks tell us that the Beatitudes start out with blessed are they, blessed are they, blessed are they, blessed are they, as though there's some sort of, external thing going to happen. But actually, what they're talking about here is speech. And that word tuvehun is a 3-part word that, when you break it down, speaks about the fact that there's a latent neural structure in us. Over and over, it repeats that there is this latent neural structure. And what does latent mean? It means it's been hidden. It's in the unconscious. We've overlaid it with sin, with insanity. At the point where Yeshua comes along 2,000 years ago, I think people were pretty insane. And so what Yeshua is bringing forward in the Beatitudes is that underneath all of that, there's a guidance system, but it's been inhibited. And what you need are the anti-inhibitors. So that tuvehun, a latent neural structure implanted by the Creator to guide you to happiness and well-being, becomes your conscious possession, you-who. And then the Beatitudes become a set of instructions for how to access or how to activate, how to engage in anti-inhibitors that allow that neural structure to become available, and that it sits right under the conscious level so that everything filters through it, and the guidance that comes from it is always going to be on track for, in the translation of those words, happiness and well-being. And so when I hear Yeshua saying, my words are your perfect license, he's like, hey guys, I've got the anti-inhibitors that will get that firing in you. Here are a set of instructions. Here are some things you can do, but I got some words for you that will assist in bringing that forward. And out of that comes this understanding of regulatory speech. It's something we spend a lot of time on in our Laws of Living course, coming out of the Aramaic, and that regulatory speech is a speech that literally is.
Hello.
Michael, you disappeared.
Hey, Jeannie.
Hi, how you doing, Joe?
Good. How are you?
Michael, if you can hear us, you just totally disappeared. It says you're still on, but I'm gonna walk in the other room just in case he can't hear us.
Okay.
Okay, let's try again.
Hey, that's always a good idea.
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yes.
good. Okay. I don't know what happened. It just restarted. Weird. So what was the last thing you heard before I cut out? Can you pinpoint where we were at?
Regulatory speech, or I think
Okay.
the definition of.
Yeah, so regulatory speech, literally, the reason why it's so important to understand is that the whole human organism is driven by speech. And so perception, emotions, cellular chemistry, that which is at the root of our behavior, all is routed or rooted in speech. And so I'm in full agreement. I've actually, as I said to you this morning, I've thought of, and of course I have a few other things on my plate, so it's not something I'm probably ever going to do, but just sitting down and rewriting the whole course, taking regulatory speech into account and cleaning up the speech in the course, I think would be very helpful to a lot of people, because speech based in hostility and fear, such as, words like sin, I mean, there's a place to acknowledge it, understand what it is, and put it back in its place where it belongs. Is it's just an energy that's off the mark, and discard it unless there's an accumulation of energetic patterns, again, based in speech, that are off the mark. Then comes the forgiveness tool, and we'll clean that up and put us back on track. But that speech system is so important, and engaging in, and we're talking frequencies. Until you get back to the frequencies of the Aramaic, it's pretty tough to get that stuff moving.
Well,
so I'm in alignment with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's hard to get it moving. It's hard to be consistent. I think that's, I always hear Ken Wapnick saying, I don't really care whether or not you like doing the lessons, just do them. Just get, walk your way through it. And I kind of, from my mind, I start into this stairwell or ladder of understanding. Certainly 25 years ago when I first read this, the word sinlessness would resonate to me in my awareness in a certain manner. Now,
right,
25 years later, up the ladder, down the ladder,
you've graduated.
I've graduated to this regulatory speech alarm or just the loving, really a loving alarm of, hey, this I would prefer, and God forbid, I'm going to plagiarize or better what is written here, but isn't that what that seems to be what's happening to me, is simply that. And I see my perfect stillness in you. I see my perfect connectedness with you, that type of thing, instead of this negative, and again, shame seems to come up with, for me, and sin, being a sinner and shaming, and certainly was in my younger days a way to control me. And now
Of course, that would be your next worksheet. The fact that shame,
you're always selling those worksheets.
it's brought up. I tell you what, we do have a sale on them this week. So
Well, it's about time. I've been waiting for that bongo. Buy one, get one.
Have you ever seen? Oh no, it's buy one get 10.
Oh.
And if you hit bingo, then you get 77 times 70. And I think you just got your bingo. So hey, go for it.
Here comes that shame. There it is.
Have you ever seen the movie The Life of Pi?
I have. Yeah, the tiger, wasn't it? The guy in the boat.
Yeah, he's going crossing the ocean. Anyway, there's a great line in it where, he says he's Hindu, and now he's become Catholic, and now he gets to be guilty in front of millions of gods. I thought that was a pretty cute line.
Oh, they are clever.
So upgrading, and again, if the use of that word resonates shame, then seriously, there's probably a piece of work to be done under the surface. And I know for me, it's become more and more whenever I'm in interaction with anything or anybody, if the slightest energy that's off the mark of love moves, then that's where I'm taking my breath next. That's where I'm doing my next piece of work.
Yes. And two things there. One, the masculine energy that comes from the Course, and speaking as to he, him, Father, God, that whole thing. Okay, all right, I'm okay with, or should I say, I am the female energy within me carries the love. I am that. So I am birthing myself to a new Joe, a new plateau, a new understanding, loving and extending that love within myself and whoever else. And then the other side of the coin is there is that masculine side, and I don't see anything wrong with, like you say, regulatory speech. Is every time I come across those masculine terms, he, father, that, I can just say he, she, father, mother, because I guess, or I'm thinking now, I'm in this duality of father, mother, and I just want to be respectful, because in our group, certainly in our group, and most of the groups that I've experienced, there's always more women than men in the group.
Right.
And it just seems to me to resonate if I honor by saying he, she, or understanding that, it's certainly simpler or easier. Is simpler a word? I don't think so, but I think it's just more of a pleasure to be willing to understand that I have both feminine
Inclusive,
and
yeah.
masculine energy. So
I'm with you on that 100%. And I think that the insanity that has gripped our culture in the past in regard to the way women are acknowledged or treated is just outrageous, and it's also pretty bizarre that there's this very strong faction that wants in the culture today that basically just wants to put women back down on the farm. I mean, literally take away birth control. One of the things that's been very well documented is if a woman has birth control, her whole family raises up out of poverty into a modicum of sanity and wealth. And I mean, you hear in this culture that there's certain factions that literally want to get rid of birth control and put them back down on the farm. It's insane.
Yep. There's certain aspects of my own experience that just put me in a confusion that I have nothing to do but forgiveness, and of course as many worksheets as I can endure.
You say as many worksheets as you can enjoy?
No, I said endure.
So, I thought I heard you say enjoy. Okay. Aria was actually doing the Dragon Klingon game this morning.
Yes.
And I had told her, by the way, Daniel and JJ, maybe Aria would like to come on and talk to you, because when she was doing the Dragon Klingon game, she got the rating of is it a whaling seal? I forget exactly what level she was at. And I had shared with her, Daniel and JJ are on the call, who were part of developing the Dragon Klingon game originally, way back. Like, they're two of the original Heartlanders from before Heartland ever even opened. Daniel and JJ were there. So if that works for you, Daniel and JJ, maybe you could explain to her what that means. I just kind of said, it might be nice for her to have a conversation with you and be introduced to you guys. But I don't know. Have you ever done the Dragon Klingon game?
Oh yeah, many times.
Yeah,
When it first,
cool.
it was a pleasure. That was 2020 when Jeannie, wasn't it? I think it was right around there anyway, because I remember. No, we were all down at not Indian Island, Oak Island, and Jeannie was working with the developer and going back and forth, and being, one of the things that I'm really proud of most is my ability to be a guinea pig and to experience the newness of anything like that. And I love that. Though that is really a fun piece of software. And not that the worksheets aren't a blast. Don't kid yourself. But that software is nice. The growling, I haven't done it lately. Does it still have the dragon and all making the noise?
Oh yeah.
That's
And
good.
Daniel and JJ are on. If you guys would unmute, maybe you'd talk a little bit about how you developed. It was really, I think, originally JJ's idea she was working with kids that took the worksheet and turned it into what eventually became the Dragon Klingon game for
That's
kids
great.
to be able to let go of those things that they drag on in their lives as adults and the things that cling to us, getting rid of the dragons and Klingons. So I don't know if you have anything to share, Daniel and JJ, but it'd be nice if you did. Give people a little bit of history of that aspect of the forgiveness app.
I'll bid you adieu. I'll be back.
All right, sir. Appreciate you. Thanks for the
Thank you.
questions, thoughts.
Thanks, Jamie. Yep.
Well, anybody else any thoughts in that regard regarding Course in Miracles, regarding speech, regulatory speech? Anyone else have a thought for us? An issue, something you'd like some feedback on, some input on. What's happening in your world?
Well, Sally here. I have something.
Welcome, young lady.
It's good to hear your
Great.
voice again. I am so grateful for our time every day at 1 o'clock where I can tune in and remember and do worksheets and all this fun stuff again. I just had an experience about an hour ago. I was at the gym. In the gym, they have all these screens of TVs. It's kind of my only exposure to TV for the most
Right.
part. And I can't choose, they're just there in front of me. And so I'm looking at the LA situation, and there's a woman on the bike to my right, and she's about my age, and we've chatted many times, and I'm always really super friendly. And so we're sitting there riding the bike, and I see this LA thing going from hot to hotter, and seeing the number of people being sent in to keep the peace. And I had a strong thought about that. It was like this huge sadness welled up on me on the bike, and a bit of anger, And anger
Right.
is the one emotion that I tend to avoid, because I don't know if I'm just gonna like speak, or my energy will just pop out. And in this case, it did. And I said, it's I get frustrated when the best thing that we can think of doing is putting gasoline on fire and making matters, stirring things up. And, I just blurted it out. And she said, the women on the bike to the right, she said,
Right.
well, we're getting rid of murderers and rapists. And that's a good thing. And I just couldn't not take the bait. I was like, I don't know how many of the people being apprehended actually are these awful people. And she said, oh yeah, they've got ways to check it all out in advance. And I thought, okay, I need to just get calm here and stay in my own hula hoop. And she looked at me with this look I've never seen on her face before, and she said, obviously we're on different sides of the fence. And I said, well, I think the solution might be somewhere in the middle, if we could talk about. And it was a hard shutdown. She didn't want to talk to me one more second. And then she shifted to talking about some romance between a football player and a pop super musician.
Right.
And I just chuckled and I thought, well, yeah, I could go there and I could enter your snow globe for a minute, but I'm just gonna like breathe and regulate and imagine a worksheet appearing right in front of me on the bike here. And there are times when I need a worksheet to do in my mind, so that I can. There's so many worksheets that are coming to me these days. And I thought, there's got to be a worksheet in that encounter that I could do here right now. And then I thought,
Right.
well, I'll get to listen to Michael soon, so I'll just table it for now. And anyway, when Joe was on and he was sharing about sin and graduating from the school of black and white, polarized thinking, I thought it's a interesting new space when we've graduated from that, and yet at times get sucked into sharing opinions. And I just wanted to share all that because I seem to be a living, walking worksheet these days.
Well, that's awesome. That's a great place to be. We identify that as process point, where it's like you're so ready to just move through things and that's one of the objectives of the work is to get to that process point. So congratulations.
Thank you. And I just want to express my incredible gratitude to you for staying with this work for so long and really, really continuing to offer it to people in a way that's accessible.
Well, we are going for every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And, there's a short form and an acronym that you can use in a situation like that. And it's LCR. L being locate the unsatisfied way I want it to be, my goal.
Uh-huh.
Cancel that goal and reconnect with Ruka. Reconnect with the breath. So just, it can be a quick, okay, what's my goal? What's driving my perceptual system, my carbon-based memory to use something that is off base with my preferred state of staying connected with love? What's the goal that's driving that? So locate, then cancel that goal, and then just take a breath and reconnect with love. Can be a short form, and then of course if it's a meaningful one, that's when you get home you want to get the pen and paper out and one of the benefits, like there are some people who say, well, I don't do those worksheets, I just do them in my head, and I always offer to them that I have a song to sing to them. And it's a Paul Simon song, and it goes, slip sliding away. The more you near your destination, the more you slip sliding away. And when people come up to some of those core issues, that's when the mind wants to go in another direction. And for me, that's when it's most important to do a written worksheet, because what I've found for me personally is that if I'm doing it in my head, I can sort of avoid the underlying subtler energies. But if I'm doing it in writing, I'm paying attention in a different way, and I have to write it down, and I capture. I found over the years that when I do a single worksheet, oftentimes I find that I've uncovered at least 4 more. Yes. And that's not what happens when you do it just in your head. That it tends to slip away. Those subtler thoughts that could take you into a really important place get ignored, where when you're doing it in writing, it's easier to catch yourself and of course go to a different level of healing with it. So, but yeah, just LCR.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we haven't heard from you in a while. Anything else exciting in your world?
Oh my goodness, yes. Last weekend, I took my mother to her 70th college reunion. 70 years ago, she graduated from Denison University with honors. And at 92 years old, she was the only person for the entire weekend that represented her class, and
Wow.
she had
My whole
one.
body is tingling. That's
It was
awesome.
it was
That's
we
so cool.
had we stayed in a dorm. We had like a for her it was a return to campus life, and to a real it was a real celebration of my relationship with her, which has been difficult when I was young, and now I don't think that I've got a close, aside from my daughter, there's not a closer relationship on the planet to me. So it is an honor and a privilege to walk with her in this final passage of her life. And I dedicated being here in Ohio to being here for her. And
Mm,
it's been amazing. So that was a real significant thing. I
that's
got
awesome.
to, yeah, she had one glitch that she might have had a TIA or some kind of her leg went numb. I caught her. Once I stabilized her, she looked at me. She said, "Will you stop telling me to breathe? I already know how to breathe." Then I knew she was back and, coming around to
Right.
being okay. And she said, "We're late for the planetarium." And it was just so classic. We managed to get to everything, uh, gained a bit of trust that she knows if she has a situation come up, we work well together.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, all of that, you got to experience things to know more what you're made of and what you can give, So, and the
Sweet.
rest of my life, I see clients every day. I'm teaching what you teach. I'm teaching somatic experiencing. I've been a somatic experiencing practitioner for 15 years. And that is kind of a high level work, helping people return from all kinds of traumatic stuff to
Right.
thriving and living fully again. So I
Sweet.
love, I love my life.
That's pretty cool. I assume you got to hear some great stories from her college days.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. It
I
was
bet that
very
was a
fun.
blast.
It was,
Oh,
yep.
wow.
And the one classmate that did show up for one night was a very well known, nationally known orthopedic surgeon who is now also 92. And he turns out he became a sailor after his medical career. And so I'm also a sailor. And he and I just talked sailing and
Oh, cool.
college. And she talked to his wife, and I talked to him, and we just had a beautiful sharing. So what a gift. I didn't expect any of the gifts that I received, and that's how it is when you're walking in the presence of love.
Right. Well, you mentioned, and it sounds like there's perhaps a little bit of concern with TIAs for your mom. And
Hmm.
one of the things you might want to do is look into getting her on some bioflavonoids. They're not that
Thank
easy
you.
to get, but you can get a good broad spectrum supplement. And the bioflavonoids build uh, the blood vessel strength. So if
Okay.
TIAs, I remember way back, oh geez, 50 years ago in Atlanta when I had a practice there, and I had a gentleman who was in his late 80s who'd had a stroke behind his eye, and his eye was black and blue, and he was blind in that eye. And his medicos said, "Well, we could do surgery, but you're, 89 and you might not survive it. So you're just going to have to live with being blind for the rest of your life." And I put him on bioflavonoids, and about 6 weeks later, he came to the office. His eye was totally clear, and he was seeing perfectly just by
Wonderful.
adding, that build the strength of those blood vessels that tend to get weaker because there's nutritional deficiencies, and that's usually the one that's involved in TIAs. So we'll
Thank
hold the
you.
space that Mom
Thank you.
rocks on and is healthy as long as she chooses to be.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Cool. All right. Delighted. Lots of love.
Lots of love.
All right. Blessings. All right. Well, now that we got family conversations going on, who else has got a thought for us?
I do.
Oh,
Well, I
good.
have a
Come on
question.
in. Hey, young lady, welcome.
Hey. Um, a couple thoughts. One, is there a place that you can recommend to get these bioflavonoids that are
I'll
vegan?
send you a link. I'll send you a link.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So I have there's a couple things in Dr. Tim's show. Susan was questioning about being able to hold on to that feeling of bliss, and is my interpretation. That's not what Susan used. I'm not trying to put words into her mouth. But remember me telling you about that when I experienced that before my husband died, and
Right.
then what I experienced in the intensive in my uh, breath session with the intensive, and then the quantum breath session.
Right.
Um, Tim was talking about like we're not supposed to maintain that state permanently. And that was because otherwise then we wouldn't be able to clear out that other stuff, right? From our carbon-based memory. If we maintained that all the time and we had no fear or no anger, and you're not done until you're done. And that just opened a space for me, like this total acceptance of my journey. Like, how I was beating myself up beating myself up for not doing the work for all those years and all of that stuff. It's like, it's just all part of the experience. And it wasn't, I think it was like Christian Sanderson that he was reading
Right. Right.
that this whole conversation came from. Um,
Christian Sundberg.
Sundberg, yeah. Okay, thank you. Started with an S. Um, that it's not meant to be maintained, at least for me at this point. Or for, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that, because I felt like that was a big relief to, in feeling inadequate, of like letting go of that because I am not perfectly able to maintain it. Does that make sense? I know
Well,
it's
I
kind of
haven't known
scattered.
anybody. I haven't known anybody that's been able to maintain it. I haven't either. My take is that if when we're in that state, that's when we can do the deepest levels of work. And so to me, ultimately, the objective would be, where does the healing come from? When I can hold love conscious, active, and present, and life comes along and resonates anything less than that, then that presence of love is going to create the dissolution. And so it's, for me, I would put it in the category of a moving target. You have time periods when you get to spend time there, and then life comes along and resonates the next layer of work to be done until the point comes where, having cleaned out 1,000 generations of your genes and your own internal dynamics, you come back to the place where you're closer and closer and closer to living in that space continuously.
That was, yeah. It- that just makes such sense to me and is such a relief that it's part of the letting go of perfectionism, the, I guess, healing perfectionism,
Right.
transmuting it.
Be- Become a
And
retired perfectionist.
we talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
In the intensive. That was just pivotal for me this morning, and
Sweet.
wanted to talk about that. Is there anybody else that's waiting to come on? Because I have something else if there's not.
Well, you are on the seat, and it's yours. So Go for it.
Okay. And I'm
When
pretty
you're
sure.
complete, we're complete, and it's your time. So 100%, whatever you have to share, or go for it, please.
Okay. So I went back to AA after coming back from the intensive, and I've had these thoughts that generate these feelings that people aren't welcoming, and they're not the way AA was where I came from. They're not welcoming, they're very closed. And I know these thoughts are mine and I'm generating this. I don't have a desire to drink. And I've got these dual opposing thoughts. Like, one is that why would I want to go someplace where I don't feel appreciated or honored, especially when my honor of self is my biggest challenge and I'm working on that. And then the other part of me is, well, you can go and you can use that as a generous trigger to work through your feelings of inadequacy or feeling separate or not belonging, whatever. The list goes on of the emotions. Um,
Well,
but
my
where,
take would be, if you've got that list of emotions, it sounds like a great place to get the resonance for the next level of work you've got to do.
right, and so doing worksheets around that, where is the line though? Like,
Your
and
choice.
I know this can't, it's like, it's like when I go to an intensive, the love and acceptance and stuff that's there. And yes, I still struggle with that and do worksheets around that in an intensive because I have that issue. And then, but it's a safe place to do that versus a place where, I mean, people have actually said and done things that were less than honoring. I don't,
Right. Well,
but I
again,
know,
that's my take is, people will oftentimes say, well, if if uh, if stuff's coming up in my relationship, then I should stay there and let myself be beat up to do it. And I say, well, I'd certainly question that. And everyone has to make their own choice as to when they're going to exit stage left in any given situation. And so if the uh, the feelings of abuse surface in that circumstance and you're safe, might be a good place to just hang out for until you work through those layers. And then one of two things will probably occur. One, all of a sudden, miraculously, they'll seem to change. Or
right.
two, you'll find a replacement group that is more to that is
Yeah.
more supportive.
Yeah. There's not a lot of meetings down here in the boonies, but yeah, I think that's like I'm just really grappling with that today. Um,
You can also do meetings online if there aren't local meetings that are really there supportive. There are a lot of different AA groups online, from what I understand.
there are, and the thing for me is the connection because I have not had a desire to drink. I've had a couple of fleeting thoughts about it in over 2 years. I
Good for
don't
you.
have
That's awesome.
I just, it's like the addiction is just gone.
Yay.
And
Nice work.
yeah, it's like it's awesome. It is awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is, eh?
okay, I just need to do a lot of worksheets on this around all those emotions and use it as a gift.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds
and maybe not expose myself to it every other day like I have been,
right.
but go at my pace and what I feel like I can handle until it it either the energy either changes or I the energy changes in me either way, right? The energy
Right.
changes in me
Right.
either way, and then I decide, yeah, this isn't what I want to do, instead of grappling with it, which is what I'm doing, trying to
Yeah.
figure it
Yeah.
out. Trying to
There you go.
figure it out again, Cammie. Get out of your head.
Good catch. You can never figure it out, but you can forgive it.
All right. Well,
Sweet.
and yeah, I really wanted to talk about the with Tim and the bioflavonoids anyway, but I was actually in the middle of doing a worksheet on this when the show started.
Perfect.
So
Perfect. I sent you a couple different links to different bioflavonoid products. Only one of them I know for sure is vegan. I'm not sure about the others. You'd have to check them out, but they're
okay.
all available on Amazon.
All right. Thank you very
Cool.
much.
All right. Holding the space. Lots of
Thanks.
love. Alrighty. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
So we've got about 6 minutes left.
Michael,
Yes, ma'am.
I was so interested in what Tammy said on two prongs. One about what Dr. Tim said to me, because my thought was, if I've had an experience where I am in the presence of love and I am love and I'm going around, I'm raising two kids, I've got a husband, I've got all these things going, but I was in complete and utter peace and bliss. And he was saying, basically, there's always work to be done because the universe is huge, and you're you you have to come out of that state, and you will come out of that state because there is more work to be done. And I had that idea that some great souls get into that state and never leave, and you're saying they don't. I think my closest example in recent history, meaning in the late 1890s, was Ramakrishna, who slipped into a state of what the Hindus call samadhi
Right.
often. He was an extraordinary soul, though, and to maintain his body, he had to have a helpmate slash consort slash wife who herself was considered an incarnation of God in that tradition. And she spent time in that state too, but had to come out of it to maintain him. She would be his cook and bottle washer and so forth. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but I just didn't get what Dr. Tim said till after he closed the show, and all of a sudden,
Right.
what happened to me was what happened to Cammie, I guess. Is I thought, oh, because I do have, I mean, that state lasted 3 or 4 days, and then it's began siphoning away, and my life came back, and I began to get triggered just as usual by certain
Right.
things. This is way back when. Anyway, and the other thing she was talking about is AA. If she wants connection, my experience with AA in person was much better than online. I was in a recent Al Anon group, and I stopped it after a while because basically it sort of like serial 2-year-olds. I mean, Joan would put her hand up and she'd tell about herself. And since feedback is not welcome, we just say, thank you, Joan. Thanks for sharing. And boom, you'd be on to the next person. And I began to jump out of my skin because I was accustomed to your radio show where we get to yell at you and you can yell back and we can do wake up sheets and get feedback, and I really like that. So I'm thinking if Cammie's been, I mean, my experience in literally AA for relationship addiction years ago was very helpful, but the rules still stood. I learned a lot. I didn't have your tools. I learned a lot and got better enough to get on my feet and stop repeating behaviors that I didn't want.
Right.
But I found it very hard to connect in AA meetings. The
We're
only
allowed
real
to-
connection we had was with one young Singaporean man who was thrown out of Yale because he had a breakdown and they wouldn't let him stay in the dorms. They were afraid for him, and he couldn't finish his senior year unless he found a place to live. And I knew the guy, so I said, come and live with us. And then his mother and father came over from Singapore, and it was the sweetest darn thing. We connected outside that meeting and got to know each other, and it was like a love fest. They were the best people. But it happened outside the meeting. Do you have anything to say about that with AA?
You know, I haven't really had any involvement with AA other than, we've done radio shows where AA principles parallel the forgiveness work, but it's not something I've had any direct experience with. I've never been to a meeting or, I've spoken at meetings. I've been invited to be a guest speaker at meetings and conferences of AA, but I've not participated as a participant, so it's a little difficult for me to say. But I do understand when, if there's a room full of people, why crosstalk and giving advice is sort of, controlled. Otherwise, it could become, get pretty crazy.
Oh, it can. And it's a good rule in general, but it's hard to connect in a way that I wanted to connect. Now, that may not be true for other people. But anyway, what you do is you certainly have some boundaries and controls. And most people who come onto your show understand these without having been told. But I feel as if we do connect, which has been so great.
Yes. To me, that's, the Aramaic words, kingdom of heaven, don't have anything to do with a place in the sky. It speaks of the community of love. And to me, the objective of this work is to literally create a community of love that wherever people are, however people connect, that we have that possibility and can really truly be that space for each other. And again, ultimately, the upshot, though I've never met anybody, including myself, that lives there, would be to live in that state of samadhi continuously. I think that's our natural state, and that we can function fully from that state in the world. And of course, we all have a pretty heavy genetic history that each of us has got to work through, and so here we are.
Yeah. Jeannie's been writing you chats, Michael. Quick.
Okay, I haven't been looking in. Okay. Joe's got his hand up. Joe's got something there.
Yeah, I wasn't aware we were allowed to yell at you, Michael.
Geez, Susan, you didn't.
Thank you.
You didn't have to tell him that, Susan. Jeez.
Finally, now I got permission.
You do, Joe. Go for it.
Woohoo! All right, Dan.
Oh yes, okay. So Jeannie put a note in there that to announce it. We're going to do a 2-hour show on Monday. Next Monday. We're going to start at noon and go till 2. So we'll start an hour earlier, and we're going to do a still point session. So anybody that wants to breathe, come and play. And then of course we did solidify, we are going to do a 9-day intuitive development intensive November the 14th to 22nd. Right here in Abingdon, Virginia. So come and play. So Ginny reminded me of that in the chat. Thank you.
And you can join us on Monday the 16th, whether you want to breathe or if you just want to be part of it and listen to the instruction or whatever. Yeah. And we will not be, we ask that you turn your camera on during the session, but I'm not going to be putting the video up for public. So you can rest easy on that. Yeah. And Dr. Tim is going to be gone starting this Friday through the 23rd. So we won't be overlapping his hour because he's not going to do a show. So
Yeah, so on Monday we'll do that still point breathing session, and we're asking for cameras and a camera that shows that you position your camera that shows you from the waist to at least the top of your head, so that we can just give you feedback on how your breath is moving and such, and support you in that. Should you choose that, it's not required, but it'll be a fun experiment to breathe together. I was actually very pleasantly surprised the first time we did, when COVID was going on, we did an online mind shifters and still point breathing session. And of course, we got that's been going on now since then, every month, once a month. And I was very pleasantly surprised at how well it worked there and in the intensive. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you, cherish you, and invite you to have the best year yet of your eternal life. Thanks for being here. Blessings. Bye-bye.